Hello from Gamescom. I'm Massimo Guarini. I'm creative director and CEO at Ovosonico, an independent development studio. We're working with Sony together on Murasaki Baby. That's our debut title, and we're here at Gamescom to announce it.
Talk a little about what this game is all about.
Murasaki Baby is a kind of, I would define it as a strongly emotional game, which is based on the emotional bond that the player will actually establish with the character on the screen. So it's a pretty unusual game because you don't get to control directly the main character, but you actually modify the environment around him and actually encourage, dissuade the main character to do things. So it's like the player is able to establish a new emotional bond with the main character and able also to teach him what's good and what's bad based on player's self-judgment.
What's the environment, what's the world like that you're manipulating?
It's the world and environment, it's a nightmarish world. It's supposed to be a sort of like journey, emotional journey through a nightmare, and that's with visuals and weird things typical of children's imagination. So you can imagine something like, you know, nightmarish visions, grotesque situation and surreal visions as well.
Can you talk a little about the actual gameplay and how you're utilizing the PS Vita?
Yeah, Murasaki Baby is heavily based on the touch interaction. So we have a kind of sort of two layers of gameplay, one in the foreground, and with the front touch screen you get to control and actually interact with Baby. So you can encourage her, you can dissuade her, you can touch her balloon, you can move things around. For example, you can move a lantern in order to make light because children are afraid of the dark. And instead, in the background, we have basically player can interact with background elements as well as changing completely background during gameplay in real time. So by using the back touch panel, with two fingers, you can literally slide the background into a new one. That changes not only the colors and the palette, but also changes the mood of the game. So, for example, changing to a scary reddish background will scare Baby, but we also allow the player to use different tools. So by using the back touch panel, the player can touch and interact with background objects in order to solve puzzles.
What were some of the inspirations for you for this game?
Well, I guess the main inspiration was probably some of the memories I cherish more from my youth, basically. So I used to be a very introverted kid when I was a child, and I used to build my own worlds in that sense. So it's kind of like, you know, this game tells a lot about myself and about, you know, my way of like having this kind of inner journeys into your own universe in your mind. And from a visual point of view instead, a big inspiration was the art of Tim Burton in the early 80s when he was actually drawing pictures and things like that. I very much like to mix cute elements with scary and grotesque stuff. So and I think it's more about being surreal and being also ironic to an extent. So I think it's really all about, you know, a nightmarish interpretation of your inner self, in a sense.